Hello, and welcome back to Literally Heinous. We have our most requested guest ever, my mother. Hi, Mom.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for making me your most requested guest ever.
I always joke that my mom has like a cult following because so many of my friends will ask me like, when's your mom coming back on the podcast? Like, can you send me your mom's number? So I think it's safe to say that your line is always open.
Always. The line's always open, the door's always open, and the light's always on.
Always. So you just got back from a really exciting retreat. So can you talk a little bit about how you found this retreat?
Yes. So we went on a psychedelic retreat.
So who's we?
Well, me and my husband, Michael.
Okay. So you went on the retreat with Jenny Schlitz. Can I say her name on here?
Yep.
So
The only thing we can't say is the location.
got it. How secretive is that?
Not very exclusively secret.
So can you talk a little bit about how you found Jenny Schlitz?
Yes. Well, to tell you the truth, I can't really remember how I found Jenny. It's been years and years. And when COVID happened, I think with a lot of people, I really hit a tailspin. And I became, very depressed, very anxious. I had quit drinking for a couple of years, and that started back. And I pretty quickly knew I was in trouble and that I needed help. And I knew, for me, traditional therapy hadn't worked so well. I'd run into enough not good therapists to kind of scar me a little bit.
Yeah.
So I revisited Jenny, and Jenny is she's a quantum healer. She's a medium. She's a mix of all of these wonderful alternative modalities. And my thought was, I'm going to try Jenny as my energy therapist. And I'm using air quotes because I kind of call myself that too, but I really don't know that I don't think that's a thing. And so I, once a month, starting, I think in April of 2020, I don't know, around that time, started seeing her again.
Yeah.
And she really, really, that monthly check-in really helped me get back on track. And it was amazing to watch her because, after restrictions were lifted, at one point, she started her training as a plant-based medicine facilitator. And I remember our phone call, and she was telling me things, and I said to her, the minute you offer a retreat, I'm signing up. And she offered her first retreat in April, and Michael and I were hosting a retreat in Tybee, so we couldn't go. And ended up, she hosted another one right after that in June, and we went, and I can say with 100% confidence, both of us had transformations there.
So I just want to go back to one of your points earlier. So a big thing that like people talk about is like bad therapists, and there's this thing called like BetterHelp that I'm fascinated by, and it's kind of like, I feel like Zillow for therapists, and it's all these people have all these like crazy stories about the stuff their therapists say or do or like show up late. Can you just say like what were your bad experiences with therapy? Like what are some of the things they said?
It's interesting. I'm so glad you asked that. One of the therapists that I went to, let me a little bit of a backstory.
Okay.
So in the work that I do and the retreats that we lead, we don't do any work unless people feel safe. Mm-hmm. But, if you don't feel safe, your brain is not online for you to make any higher executive order thinking decisions, skills, anything. So... And because of my history and because of my complex post-traumatic stress, I have a really hard time feeling safe. Mm-hmm. So that's the backstory. So I'm with this therapist, and I'm talking about this issue that I have, and I'm explaining to him how certain things aren't happening in the household and I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And he looks at me, and he says... Don't you think that's kind of petty?
Oh my God.
And you know what I did? Because I didn't know anything. I agreed with him.
Yeah.
And that is a bad therapy session.
Yeah.
Right there. Because if he was in tune, or she, it could be either, I don't want to give it away, they, had been attuned to me
Yeah.
and had been on their game, by what I was describing, they would have heard that safety was an issue.
Yeah.
And if they were worth any of their degrees or letters after their name, they would have honed in on, well, how can we make you feel safer?
Yeah. Petty is just not a word you should say as a therapist, because even if something is technically or categorically petty, then it's like, okay, well, then what's the reason behind it?
Mm-hmm.
You
Exactly.
know? Like, that's so crazy.
So you don't have a psychology degree that I know of.
I do not.
And you know that.
Yes.
To my point.
Yeah. That is so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Therapy is hard. Like, I know a lot of people don't want to get into therapy because it's so hard to find one that you like. And then the forms and just all of that. And I don't know. It's really, like, therapists hold so much power. Like, they can get into your brain.
Yeah, they hold a lot of power. And I think back to that time and knowing what I know now, what a disservice that was to me. And if that was one incident with one person,
Yeah.
imagine the other person and other people that they were getting in their minds and affecting that way.
Yeah. So tying this into pop culture, have you heard about the Jonah Hill stuff?
No.
Do you know who Jonah Hill is?
Yes.
Okay. So, like, formerly, like, fat, funny actor turned serious actor. So
he and his partner always dressed a certain way.
You might be thinking of something different.
Okay.
So basically his ex-girlfriend, this like really cool, hot, like surfer chick, like kind of an influencer, but for like surfers, just like this really cool girl. She posted screenshots of like his text to her and like totally put her on blast. Basically said that like, if you're going to go out with friends that are single and rowdy, then like we can't date. Like, you need to stop posting bikini pictures. You're not allowed to surf with men. But he was like very heavily therapized because he's using all these therapy words like boundaries and like all this stuff. And it's so funny because like 6 months ago, he put out this really dramatic documentary about his therapist, Dr. Stutz, and how this therapist like completely changed his life. And that was a whole thing about how like celebrating men who get therapy. And then all of this is coming out and him saying like, my therapist said this, like my therapist said that, while he's actively shaming a woman for doing the things that was the reason why he fell in love with her. So like, it's cool when they're not dating because she's like posting bikini pictures, she's surfing, she's so cool and laid back. But then once they are dating, it's like, well, my therapist said you need to shut that off because you already have me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they do. And, psychobabble, I hear that term tossed around a lot.
Yeah.
To your point of, them, a therapist, and working so in depth with a therapist almost, sometimes negatively affecting who you show up as yourself.
Yeah. So, interesting sidebar. Yeah, I would always... Like, I would hate to argue with a man who's, like, really been to therapy because then it's like they know too much. Right. Like, men, like, need to be dumb. We got to keep them that way. Okay, so so you were kind of in a rut. No therapy had worked for you. And then you found Jenny, and she introduced you to, would you refer it to as psychology? Or would you say energy therapy?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a term that I coined, and it's what I do, and it's what Jenny Schlitz does.
Yes.
And there are fortunately more and more of us as it's safer to be seen.
Yeah.
We're starting to shine our lights brighter. And I think one of the really big boons from AI around all of this is you can't fake what we do.
Yeah. Okay, so going back, so you found Jenny, and then how did that work with the retreat, or what led you there?
So Jenny and I, we worked together, and it was probably 18 months, and I got myself back on track and was able to become alcohol free again, and I'm about to go on 3 years now. And it was super easy. I mean, I realized, that it didn't resonate, that it wasn't for me, that my body actually didn't like it. So it was super easy to put down. And, once I did that, I was able to really get myself back on track. And Michael and I are leading retreats consistently. And I'm able to, have a capacity to do a lot more things to help the business grow. So, I guess it was around, I can't remember this timeline, but Michael and I started finding things about psychedelics. Like we watched on Netflix, Fantastic Fungi.
Yes. I think I told you to watch that.
You probably did, and I loved it, and I still talk to the mycelium.
It was honestly one of the best documentaries I'd ever seen.
Yeah. So we started with Fantastic Fungi, and then we found this really great series called How to Change Your Mind. And that is done by Michael Pollan, and he's been in the news a lot because of that, and also just because there's so much in the news now about psychedelics. And I think he has a Twitter feed where he is pretty active and answers a lot of questions. But that documentary, he went through ayahuasca and Bufo and psilocybin and MDMA and LSD, and it was really enlightening. And he backed it up with science, and it was all extremely well done, legitimate, above board, and that really piqued our curiosity.
Yeah.
So the next step in all of that, so we were already kind of on board thinking this is really interesting stuff. And I did some work with a functional nutritional doctor in Colorado. And I answered about 7,000 questions. And he got back to me. He calls it his 10 pillars of health. And it was really, really interesting. And it was most interesting to me because of all the work I've done has been around my trauma. And how do I heal that? How do I heal mine trauma and help other people heal theirs? So the first thing out of the gate he says to me is, you know, before I recommend anything to you, I think you need to get a handle on your trauma.
Wow.
And this is after I've done years of work.
Yeah, that is so crazy.
And I said, what in particular makes you say that? He goes, well, one question you answered really jumped out at me. Or one statement that you made at the end, like, do you want to tell me anything else? And I had written, I check my reflection in the mirror 35 times a day.
Yeah.
You know, I'll lift up my shirt to see if my tummy looks fat, or I'll check my silhouette, or I'll check myself in the window.
All the time.
All the time, constantly.
Yeah.
And he said that was his biggest red flag.
Ugh, please. Zoe and I always say, can't we struggle with our eating disorder in peace? Like, does everything need to be, like, can't I just have a toxic relationship with my body? Like, can nothing be sacred?
Afraid not.
Yeah.
And I just found that fascinated me. Yeah. And so he recommended a few things, but I was so fascinated by what he said that I really dove back into trauma work. And I found the book, The Body Keeps the Score. Listened to every word of it on Audible. Fascinated by it. I happened to find the night before the 7-month course started, I was able to enroll in the author of the book, Bessel van der Kolk.
Yeah.
And so I will finish that course at the end of September, and I'll be trauma certified. And then kind of in tandem, right along with that, I also found an internal family systems certification course. And that's a whole psychotherapy modality that they teach to lay people, energy therapists like me. And that's been, you know, all of those things dovetailed at the same time in February-ish. And then Jenny started talking about her retreat that was going to happen in June.
So when the nutritionist said you need to work on your trauma, did you stop working with him after that?
Not because he said that.
Yeah.
But because the next step with him was going to be a lot of biogenetic testing.
Yeah.
And as much as I want to know, like, why I have rheumatoid arthritis and the physiology and all that's going on, I really didn't want to invest tens of thousands of dollars to find that out.
Okay, I get that. And it sounds like you found, like, the root of what is...
I found definitely got what I needed to get out of doing his 10 pillars of health, which I would recommend to anybody. I'm happy to put his name in the link too. Yeah.
Okay, so Jenny reaches out about the psychedelic retreat. How did she frame it to you?
She didn't have to. I'd been watching the whole thing. I'd literally been waiting for her to say, I'm doing the retreat. She says, I'm doing it in April. I'm like, oh, I can't go. I'm doing it in June. I said, we're coming.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I approached Michael about it, I felt like he would be on board, and he was. At first, I think he was a little concerned because of what he does, but I think the benefit overweighed that for him.
So, did you know ahead of time the psychedelics you would be taking?
Mm-hmm. Yes, she was offering, so she, phrased it as plant-based medicine.
Yeah.
And that is pretty much the catchphrase that we used, together as in that retreat container. And so it was cacao, like hot cocoa, but this is specially farmed, ceremonial cacao. There was a plant, mapacho, which I don't know much about. It's like a tobacco.
Yeah.
There was hepe, which I don't know anything about, and I didn't do it, so I can't tell you anything about that. There was psilocybin.
So like
mushrooms. And there was Bufo. And Bufo is the venom from the Sonoran desert frog. And what caught my attention about that backstory a little bit, a few years, was reading an article with Mike Tyson.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I want to be like Mike. You know how I am that way.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by the article. I was fascinated by the change in him that I could feel in the words that he was saying in that interview. I could feel that he'd had an expanded, awakening, conscious experience. And I know that he's had many, 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 many since then.
Yeah. So how did it work, like, with deciding which PBMs you were going to take? Is that what y'all called it on the retreat?
PBMs? No, but I will now.
Okay. So plant-based medicines is PBMs.
From now on.
So did Jenny, like, she gave you a menu and you kind of, like, picked, or how did that work?
No, it was presented as we have these things and, and this is what they are. And I could pull up my information and find out more if people want it. But it was very, the first three that I mentioned were very, like casual kind of, that you could, partake in the cacao ceremony or the mapacho or the hepe. So there's another plant-based medicine that is Cambo. And Michael tested out of that one because I think of a heart condition.
Yeah.
That wasn't safe for. So the cool thing about it is Jenny and Danny have been trained extensively, so there's that safety factor.
Yeah.
Going back to that.
Okay, so just to clear everything up, so Michael's your husband, Jenny and Danny are the retreat leaders.
Correct.
And then you said there was Bufo and Cambo?
Yes.
And Michael tested out of Cambo.
Correct.
So he did not do Cambo.
Right. The day they did Cambo, he and I went hiking.
So how did he test out of Cambo? Was it like a questionnaire?
Questionnaire.
Okay.
And they have a metric. I'm sure that they look at that.
Okay.
So, and where I thought you were going with that is how did he test out of that, but he could do the other ones?
Yeah. Well.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the metric is.
Okay. So you and Michael just did Bufo, the frog venom, and psilocybin.
Yeah, we did. Actually, we did the cacao ceremony. We did the mapacho ceremony. We did Bufo and psilocybin.
Got it. So 4 of the 5, everything except Cambo. So you arrived to the retreat. And then what was it like when you first got there?
It's interesting. Like I said, Thursday they did the Cambo and we were gone.
Yeah.
So it was like we arrived Thursday evening and one of the guests had done hepe.
Yeah.
And hepe's one, the best way I can think to describe hepe is like a brain reset. It's kind of like blows your brain out for a second, then it resettles.
Just does not, like, I'm good, honestly, the way I am.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of crazy.
You know what, too? I'm sure I'm doing it a disservice, but I'm saying it from just the way I saw. We walked in that Thursday evening. We'd been out all day. And the Cambo ceremonies had gone beautifully. But one of the guests had decided to also do the hepe.
Yeah.
And she just looked wiped out.
Really?
And so we walked in and she was like kind of, not out of it, not near death or anything, but just it was pretty intense when we walked in.
Was she like standing, or what was she
She
doing?
was sitting out like sitting on the couch.
And just kind of
like
zonked out
a little bit. So that was an interesting way to start things.
Yeah.
And if I back it up a little bit, like we'd arrived Wednesday night, and it was late, so we woke up Thursday morning and said hello and goodbye to everybody. Then we came back in, and it was like, whoa, that looks intense enough for me to not want to try that.
Okay, so that is when you decided you didn't want to do Hepe?
Yes.
Okay. So you guys went to bed that night, Thursday night?
Went to bed Thursday night, and we woke up Friday morning, and, it was really interesting. It was different from our retreats in that there was a lot more free time.
Okay.
In that case, it was good because all of the guests started mixing and mingling, and I'm going to tell you this. As weird as it was walking in Thursday night, when we all connected Friday, it was an immediate soul connection for the 8 of us guests.
Yeah.
It was like meeting your long lost soul family.
Yeah.
Like to the point we were all very best friends within a few hours.
That's
like
good.
We've never not known each other. I've never been in a group of people where I felt so safe and not judged.
Yeah.
Completely accepted. Nothing you said was weird or off.
Yeah, I love that. That is the best. So how many people were on the retreat?
There were 8 guests and 2 facilitators.
Okay.
And one of the guests did double duty like Kate does at our retreats, where she was a guest and she chefed.
Yeah. So Kate is my mom's sister who co-leads the retreats with my mom and Michael. So it was you and Michael, the pseudo Kate, Hepe girl, and then 2 facilitators. So who were the other 2?
Cindy Lou, who is my best friend.
Yeah.
And
it's a pseudonym.
Yes. And they're just other women.
Yeah. So it was all women.
And they were from. One was from Jersey. We're from Georgia, and then everybody else was Washington, Montana, Utah, Idaho.
Yeah. And what was the age layout?
Montana is the baby at 44.
Okay.
And then I think I probably was next at 53 and then up.
Got it. Okay. And what kind of occupations did everyone have? If you can do a vague generalization.
I think Montana's a therapist. Mm-hmm. And honest to God, nobody ever asked, what do you do to anybody?
That is, I don't know if this is a red flag, but the first thing I do when I meet anyone is ask what they do for work. And I know the lore of people say like when someone only wants to climb the ladder or network, but I'm just genuinely curious.
Mm-hmm. I was as the retreat went on, but then I kept forgetting to ask.
Yeah, it helps me place people into I don't know, but maybe that's something I should work on. I'm just curious. Mm-hmm. Anyways, okay, so that was layout, and it was all women except for Michael and the other
Danny.
leader,
Mm-hmm.
Danny. Okay, so Fridays when you bond with everyone, and then what kind of activities were that day?
So Friday we bonded, and I think then we did the psilocybin.
Yeah.
So it things just kind of, it was really interesting. It was like in a time warp.
Yeah.
Like we felt like those 3 days that were so intense felt like we were together for a lifetime almost.
Yeah.
The days stretched.
Yeah.
So long. I can't even remember if we had a morning session, but at some point in the afternoon we were, Jenny spoke with each one of us individually, and based on, her interaction with us, she decided, and I don't want to say she decided, she worked with her spirit team, her guides, and she was instructed based on our conversations to give us a certain dose.
So, and just to clarify, when my mom says guides and spirit teams, can you elaborate on what that means for?
Yes. So it's metaphysical work where you feel like you have guides. I'm going to say a guardian angel, or, maybe an Indian guide, or it might be an animal spirit.
Yeah.
You have a relationship with a non-physical being who provides you with like your inner compass, GPS, like your higher self, what's right, what's wrong. And some people work with angels and archangels. Some people work with ascended masters. Some people have a mishmash of guides.
Yeah, it's like Lizzie McGuire in like her little cartoon.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Jenny, this was on Friday, she would have a one-on-one with conversation with everyone. And then Jenny would, in tune, decide the dose of psilocybin to give to everyone.
Correct.
So everyone was doing psilocybin on Friday.
Right. And that was a group event.
Yes.
So we had this big open room, and everybody made their little nest.
Okay.
And when I say nest, like people pulled out their mattresses from their rooms. I mean, people made a nest.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what was your nest like?
Our nest was kind of janky.
It was like a Skid Row nest. Why was it so janky?
Well, because our mattress was too big to pull down the stairs.
Wow. Okay.
So we just pulled off couch pillows and kind of made a little janky nest.
Okay. Okay. So you guys just had couch pillows and some blankets?
And we're talking like, Cindy Lou Who had her whole, bed set up.
Really?
So just, relative. Everything was relative.
No one like made you feel bad. Like, what if Jenny went around and like her spirit guides were like, "This is terrible.
This is not sacred at all."
Bad vibes.
So everybody's in their little nest, and the psilocybin's in a chocolate bar.
Okay.
And there were two different chocolate bars. One had a little cayenne pinch to it, and the other didn't. And she put the chocolate bar, like pieces, on a yellow rose petal.
Cute.
And so we just did a little ceremony with that, and then we ate our chocolates.
This is so much more ornate than what Jack and I do. Just like, all right, just lick your hand.
Well, the really cool thing about that, and I'm glad you said that, Lily, is everything was very intentional.
Yeah.
And very ceremonial. Not ceremonial to the point of you're like, all right, can we get on with it kind of ceremony. But definitely intention. Like, I went to this retreat with the intention to release cellular trauma. Like, to release this, because you've seen me. Yeah. I have excavated. And I literally got to a point where I could not do any more work on my own.
Yeah.
And that's why I went on this retreat. Was like, I am writing this past timeline in my head where I was looking back at the past so often that it was completely affecting my ability to be present and do what was in front of me to move things forward.
Yeah. And this is before you went on the retreat.
This is before I went. And this is why I went. Because I know, as an energy worker, therapist, that's a timeline.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other podcast. And I needed to I don't want to use the term get rid of, but I needed to shed or switch timelines.
Yeah.
And I felt like this was the answer. Because if you look at all of the science behind it and what it does to you physiologically and neurologically, that's why it's having such a resurgence, because it is extremely effective in the treatment of a lot of depression, anxiety, CPTSD, all of these things that are going on now. People are finding a lot of relief.
Yeah. So when you say switch timelines, is that kind of in the sense where, like, if you continued the way that you were going, you would be operating at this kind of vibration, but if you switch your timeline, then you can get on a higher frequency?
Perfect way to put it. Literally. Okay. Yes. That low, that timeline that I was on, where I was always looking at the past, was so low vibrating. And I operate normally at a very high vibration. Yeah. So I was battling myself. Yeah. Like every day, multiple times a day, I'm at this high vibration on this timeline, doing these retreats, helping people, shorten their span of suffering. That's high vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And that past timeline would just pull me down and pull me down. And I was like exhausted.
Yeah, you need to like snip it. Got it. Okay. So when you had your psilocybin on the flower, what do you know the amount, like the grams, or like how much was it?
I can't remember, and I can ask Jenny. But I know that I had 3 little squares.
Okay.
So I think Michael was telling somebody about it and said he had 3 bars.
Oh my God, Michael!
Like, and you're still alive?
Not that kind of. That is not a PBM.
No, that is a party.
Yeah.
So it was just the squares, and I don't know the dosage.
That's okay. So you ate the chocolate squares, and then were you guys just talking, waiting for it to kick in?
No, you ate the chocolate squares, and you put on your little eye mask, and you just laid down.
Ugh.
And Jenny did this meditation that was, it's so beautiful that I cannot wait to use it.
Yeah.
At the next retreat. It was gorgeous. It was where she worked with your maternal lineage, and she had you put in a box everything that you didn't want from your mother, everything that you did not want, and give it back to her. I see you.
Was yours a box, or was it a trunk, or was it like
a U-Haul,
a warehouse? Like you were like, I'm gonna need a few days for this. Does anyone have movers?
Hey, I need some more bars for this one.
Not enough bars. Oh my God.
So I did that. I passed it back to Sal, and then Sal put stuff in her box and gave it to her mother, my grandmother Nanny. Rose.
And this is all in your head.
This is a meditation. Jenny's talking.
Yeah.
And then my grandmother handed it back, and so on until it got to the last person, and they dumped the box out. And then they filled it with all of the things they wanted you to have.
Yeah.
And so by the time you got your box back, it was strength and hope and courage and, all of these wonderful things. And then she did the same thing on the paternal line.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting because the box I got back from Mom was attributes.
Yeah.
And the box I got back from Dad was all like objects, like magic things, amethyst. And his amethyst thing is in Blue Ridge now, but I was going to show you. You know, with the little silver castle in it?
Yeah. And
at the very top of his box was like a piece of paper, and on it was written, the daily practice.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
So that meditation was super meaningful.
Yeah. So when you say, like, were you seeing all of this, or like what did it look like in your head?
Yeah, I am very visual.
Yeah.
I'm definitely clairvoyant.
Yeah.
So my visions, like I could follow her words, and I had the pictures, and I was with her. And I think that's why it was so powerful. Yeah. Because I was in it to win it.
What did your box look like?
When I got it back from Mom, do you mean? Or yeah. I mean, it was just like a box, like a, moving box. Mom's was a moving box. And when I got it back from Dad, it was humongous. Yeah. Because it had objects in it.
Yeah. Yeah. So could you see your grandma?
I can, and actually she's part of my team now, which is really interesting because I wasn't very close to her. But yes, I could see her, but I couldn't see past her.
Yeah, because you didn't know what they looked like.
Right.
Wow. That is really interesting. So what was Michael's experience?
I don't really remember.
You couldn't get into
it's kind of, I think, similar to mine. He was able to follow along, and it was very profound. Yeah. He really enjoyed it, but I don't remember specifics.
Okay. So after you got your box back from your dad, then what happened?
Then everybody was out.
Asleep?
Well, I don't know, but, things had started working. Yeah. The medicine had started working. And I literally felt my eyeballs vibrating. Really? In my head. And if you can picture a lava lamp. Yeah. That's what my brain looked like. Like I could see like it morphing and moving. And
so that's what you could see while you closed your eyes? Interesting.
And I could see neural pathways. I could see things falling off that I didn't need anymore. I could see connections being made where they weren't before. And so that was my exact intention.
Yeah.
That's really what I wanted, was to rewire myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that working, and it was so cool. And I remember like saying to my guides in my head,
Yeah.
you know, what do I need to deal with? What am I missing? Show me. I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready now.
Yeah.
And I clearly heard them say, there's nothing we can show you that's any worse than what you've been showing yourself.
Yeah.
You've done more work than you'll ever know. So why don't you just relax and enjoy the ride?
Yeah. That's nice.
It was fantastic. So
Yeah.
the neural work happened. I asked for, okay, show me what it is. You know, what's my big T, my, you know,
Yeah.
lay it on me. And they were like, you've already seen it all. So
Yeah.
relax. And then I started laughing.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the ride. And I could hear, you know, my retreat mates around me, and some of them are really struggling. You know, you release things that are sad, and you see things that are you wish you hadn't seen. And so I could hear people crying and sobbing.
Yeah.
And so naturally, as an energy worker, I started holding space for them.
Yeah.
You know, and I had my palms out and open, and I could feel myself doing it. And I was like, but then I started laughing.
Yeah.
And I was trying not to laugh really hard, which ended up sounded like I was crying.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I was laughing. And what tickled me so much was this image, this vision that came to me. In 4th grade, we had to go to church every day. I went to a Catholic school. And one day, Tanya and I were laughing so hard that we fell out of our pew into the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
And they took us back to homeroom, and we got in trouble.
Yeah.
And once I saw that in my mind, you know, that laughter when you literally cannot stop.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I tried to stop it, the more it kept building.
Yeah.
And so finally I sat up, and I was, you know, motioned to Jenny and Danny. I was like, I need to go upstairs, and pointed up.
Yeah.
And he checked my eyes, and, you know, they made sure that I was okay to do that. And then Danny walked me up, and I got my journal, and I got something to drink. And then a few more, and then another person came up, and then Michael came up.
Yeah.
And we just had that like funny, antsy energy that you get.
Yeah.
And so we asked them if we could go for a walk. And we were just surrounded by red rocks.
Was this daytime or nighttime?
This is daytime.
I was picturing nighttime the whole time.
Yeah, daytime.
Okay.
I'm going to say 3 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Like I said, we were in a time warp. So we go out and walk, and it is the best walk ever.
So it was you, Michael,
just me and Michael.
Oh, just
the other person didn't go. And we laughed, and we had a really deep conversation, and we found this lilac bush that smelled like heaven, and we saw a hummingbird land on a wire, and we could literally see the circular vibration of it a foot out from its body.
Cute.
And we met neighbor Jim. I'm like, hey, Jim, I'm Sarah. He was like, what the hell is she on?
That is hilarious.
And that was really fun, and it was a nice time to connect with each other. By the time we got out, you know, most people were coming out of their experience, except my dear best friend, Cindy Lou, who...
She had a bad time.
She had a bad time.
Oh, no.
And I didn't know what to do with myself, because I was still kind of amped up.
Yeah.
So I paced for a little bit, and I went into the bathroom, and I did not look at myself.
That's
very
good.
proud. But I remember Michael's like cure-all for anything that's ailing you is to get a cold washcloth.
Mm.
So I got some cold washcloths, and I went and asked her if it was okay if I, you know, put them on her. And I started doing a little energy work on her, and our souls connected.
Yeah.
And it was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And she has 2 Great Danes.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, Abe and Abby.
That is so cute.
Yeah.
So Cindy Lou Who did not have a good time. You gave her the washcloth. Gosh, I can't remember my question now. But so at that point, was everyone like back to reality?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody was servicing. Grandmother Willow was pretty out of it.
Who's Grandmother Willow?
Grandmother Willow is from Indiana.
Okay.
And if you remember Pocahontas and you
course.
remember
I
Grandmother
know,
Willow,
yeah.
you know exactly who I'm talking about. I
Yeah.
asked her if it was okay to call her that. She said yes.
That's a huge compliment.
Yeah,
She's
Grandmother Willow.
like goated.
Yeah.
So did people know that you were laughing?
Oh, nobody really talked about, I don't know. Jenny did. I said, I was trying so hard not to laugh. It sounded like I was crying. She said, I knew you were laughing. But I just felt so joyful.
Yeah.
It's just euphoric. It was euphoric joy.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense for you. Like, you've done so much work already. It's like, can't you catch a break? Like, what more trauma is there to uncover?
Apparently not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who is on your spirit team?
My spirit team, I've got 5 people that work with me regularly, and it's loved ones of mine, and it's Dad, it's Shannon Walker, it's my grandmother Nanny, it's my mom's first boyfriend Bill.
That is crazy, but okay.
And Robin Williams.
Okay, that is a really interesting lineup.
Very interesting team I have.
Yeah, and then just to go back and explain, Shannon Walker is one of your best friend's husband who passed away really
tragically suddenly, yes.
A few years ago.
Yeah. A year and some months.
Oh, yeah, a year and a few months ago. Can you just give us a little nugget of how Robin Williams came into your spirit team, just as much as you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah. Well, he was, when we go further into the experience, he showed up.
Okay, so we'll put a pin in that and come back
to
it.
And he validated experiences that I had years before this.
Got it.
Like said to me, they were real, and I had been trying to connect with you, and you were not ready.
And that is what happened when you did Bufo?
That's what happened when I did Bufo.
Okay. So before we get to that, let's just wrap up Friday. So everyone came back to reality. Cindy Lou Who was okay.
Cindy Lou Who was okay. We had dinner together, and we did the cacao ceremony.
Okay. So how was that?
That was really, really nice. Jenny made the cacaos, hot chocolate, in some beautiful little mugs. And you took your mug and you held it, and she played this, really pretty meditative music. And you just intentionally, held your cup and, kind of reviewed your day and just let your thoughts come and go. And then the music progressively got more intense and interactive to where she would say, stand up. And then we stood up and you were swaying, and then all of a sudden you're moving your body, and everybody just naturally started dancing.
Yeah.
And then it was really fun. She asked, if any spirit animals came to you or anything like that. And then people acted it out.
Oh, my gosh.
It was so fun.
That is fun.
It was funny. And it was a great way to end the day. I mean, everybody was laughing, and everybody felt really connected.
That's perfect. Yeah, definitely with retreats, when I went on yours, I think one of the highlights was playing Fishbowl, like this kind of charade-y, improv-y, goofy game. Because when you get so deep, like, you have to have an equal opposite reaction and be goofy.
Right, for sure. And that laughter moves so much energy.
So you wrapped up Friday night with a fun activity. So walk me through Saturday.
Well, I do want to say this, is I slept for crap while I was there.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know if it was, I'm sure it was a whole host of things, but I was on like a 2-hour sleep cycle.
Really?
And that was pretty obnoxious. But it was, when you have that sleep, sometimes you're not so worried that you're going to be okay the next day. It was more like, okay, I know that this is what's happening, and I trust spirit that you've got me, and we're going to be okay. And I was just tired.
Yeah.
So Saturday morning we woke up, and they always had a just really light breakfast, protein shake, yogurt, granola, fruit, and we gathered for really, I think, our first and most formal session. And it was about integration after we took the medicine, even at the retreat, and then going home. And Jenny gave us, this beautiful list of like 27 things that we could do to integrate moving forward. And a lot of that I've done, and I share, and I'd be happy to put together a list if anybody wants to know what those things are. So that was a pretty long session. And then we had a break in which Jenny and Danny prepared for the first Bufo ceremony, and they did people individually, and they planned on an hour per person, like start to finish.
Like the trip is only an hour per person?
You know what? With Bufo, it can be as short as 6 minutes or as long as 45.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Michael broke all the records.
No way.
An hour and 5 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So at one point, Danny came out to me and he said, "Your husband's a psychonaut." And I was like,
oh, God.
what the hell's a psychonaut?
What'd he do? Yeah.
What did he do?
Who do we need to call? Who's got a towel?
I knew this was going to happen. Apparently a psychonaut is somebody that takes very well to psychedelics.
Yeah, I could really see that with him.
Yeah.
I bet the shrooms didn't even affect him.
Didn't. That's so funny. They didn't.
I feel like I just kind of knew that.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
He felt light and fun
yeah.
and, expanded, but he did not have a journey.
Because when you said you went upstairs and he came upstairs shortly after, that told me.
Right. He's like, "Why didn't you tap me? I would have gone with you." I was like, "You looked like you were asleep."
Yeah, you couldn't interrupt. That does not surprise me at all.
So, yeah, Michael broke the record with that, and his intention really was to go back to source energy, like to go home.
Yeah.
And Bufo is also called the God molecule. It's a molecule that's present in your system when you're born and when you die.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
So Jenny and Danny took each person individually to like a back room or what?
So the psilocybin retreat the day before, the room was kind of weird energy. And everybody was like, and they were like, So they set up a little nest. They had this big, huge master bedroom.
Yeah.
So they set up a nest, very high end.
A high end Ritz-Carlton nest. Not
Four Seasons.
Not like your Quality Inn.
Microtel. And that's where we did it.
Okay, in the master room. So it was just Jenny and Danny and they're one person at a time.
Right. And I was so nervous about it. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Part of me was afraid that I wouldn't come back. We did a lot of journaling to prep, and I would like to go over at some point, maybe at the end, of how to prep for it.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of journaling around that.
Yeah.
And I was afraid, like when I was about to have my medicine, I said, if I go out and I don't seem like I'm coming out, you got to say Lily and Vic. That'll get me to come back.
That's nice.
And that was a fear of mine.
Yeah.
And so I was nervous. And so Cindy Lou, who really sat by my side, she gave me crystals to hold.
Aww.
And I looked at her while Michael was in there, and I said, "Will you go in with me when I do mine?"
Oh my God.
And I'm really glad that she did.
She did come in.
She did. She's an energy worker. Like, I know that that's what she does, but I don't know how she does it.
Where's Cindy Lou Who from?
So Cindy Lou Who is from Idaho.
Got it.
And she does energy work, but I don't know exactly how she does it.
Okay.
And so, Michael threw all the schedule. Everybody was allotted an hour from start to finish. So
Michael comes out of his Bufo.
So Michael comes out, and it is called the Bufo Glow for a reason.
Yeah.
You look like you've been to the Caribbean for a week.
Really?
If you've had a good journey, your grin is from ear to ear, all the whites of your teeth showing.
Yeah.
And you feel like you've been to the Caribbean.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes out and he's just, wow, I went to Source. I died. It was great. It was the best thing ever. And I'm like, oh my God. It just made me more nervous.
Yeah. Like my Taylor Swift concert.
The expectations are so high.
Taylor Swift or Bufo. So he comes out. He had a great time. Then you and Cindy go in.
And then Cindy and I go in, and it's really interesting. The Bufo is like a little rock.
Okay.
And they put it in a beaker.
Like a chemistry
beaker.
Yeah.
And the top is covered with, foil. Mm-hmm. And they take a blowtorch.
Wow.
And they light it.
That's so like Breaking Bad coded.
I mean, it was. I was like, ooh.
This looks intense. Yeah, that does.
It was so intense. And then they coach you on how to breathe. And they pre-coached us before we went in. And then they tell you again.
I would forget everything.
And so the whole beaker is filled with this vapor. And he pops this straw in. Just his eyes. Oh my gosh. Sweetest. He's such a great person. They both are. Again, back to feeling safe.
Yeah.
Totally felt safe. Even though I was nervous and full of anxiety, I knew they had me.
Yeah.
And you got Cindy Lou Who in the mix. That was good.
Yeah. Had Cindy Lou Who done the Bufo yet?
No. She did Cambo.
Okay.
She did Cambo, and then she didn't have a great...
Yeah.
psilocybin,
yeah.
but you know, it wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
And the viewpoint is really there's not so much a bad trip. It's just maybe you didn't get what you wanted.
Yeah, but sometimes that's what you need.
That's what you need, right?
Okay, so she was
like
yeah.
my doula. She was my
Yeah.
Bufo doula in there.
Your Bufo sitter. Okay.
And so I went back with the same intention to release the trauma, and it was a very physical experience for me.
Yeah. Well, when you inhaled the Bufo, so what did that like taste like?
I don't remember it tasting like anything, but they, you know, you breathe it in a way that, you know, and that you take in all of the vapor.
Yeah.
And then they count you down like 10, 9,
God.
and you go back and you go.
Were you sitting?
You sit, you sip, and then they count, and Jenny says, "Go home."
Oh
and
my
you
God.
Go back, and it's like your whole brain just.
That is insane.
It was insane.
That's crazy.
It was insane. And right before I went down, I said, Jenny, remember when I told you about my throat thing? And I know I've told you and Vic about the past life experience of being stabbed in the throat with a rusty nail.
Yeah.
Which I found later on the ballpark field.
Okay.
Another story. And so I told her about that. So I don't really remember all my details of this. I should have refreshed my memory. I should have read this before. But at some point, I am, you know, I remember exactly what happened. I started feeling so much gratitude. And I don't know if I was saying it or just thinking it. I'm so grateful. I have such a wonderful life. I'm so grateful for everything I have. Thank you. You know, I just kept going on and on and on about it. And I started getting my throat. I started, you know, kind of not choking.
Yeah.
But having some issues. And I was like, I said, my throat, we've got to clear whatever this is in my throat. And I could hear Cindy Lou Who breathing with me. And, you know, then Jenny started doing her energy work. And Danny was breathing with me. And then we cleared that out. And I've had this foot issue since COVID. And I got Danny to work on my foot. And, you know, it was a very physical experience for me. Mm-hmm. But those were two big, huge things that needed to be addressed. And so that happened. And at one point, you know, Jenny's kind of cradling me and we're all breathing together. And, you know, I'm just releasing all of this trauma.
Yeah.
Really. It was what I had intended exactly was happening.
Yeah.
I was releasing it. And I came to and just, you know, grinning ear to ear. Mm-hmm. Bufo glow. I went out, you know, to my retreat best friends and, you know, just the best thing ever. I loved it so much. And then it was a lot. And then Michael and I must have walked like 7 miles.
Yeah.
In a few days. We walked a lot. Mm-hmm. But we couldn't leave like where we were. You don't want to be driving your car or anything like that. So we would just go kind of walk our area. And that was a really long day.
Yeah.
And I do want to back up just a little bit. Before I went in, I took the other women up and we went to the top of this vista and we did the spinal openers that I've always harp about. Yeah. And we all got grounded together. Yeah, that's nice. That was really cool. And so I have my experience and then there's 6 more to go. Mm-hmm. And I was out for 36 minutes.
Okay. So that seems average. Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. Respectable.
I was down with that. You know, 3 + 6 is 9. Sign of completion. I'm good with that. And we went until like 10 that night.
People like
10 o'clock.
The last
took
person
to go
was
through everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. How did Jenny decide the order?
I don't know.
Her spirit team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think part of the order, honestly, because she knows what Michael and I do. Yeah. I think that we went first. Yeah. So that we could hold that space out there. Yeah. Where everybody was and she and Danny could concentrate on medicine.
So did you and Jenny kind of have a little agreement that you would like low key
Not
help?
At all.
No?
It just happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what else did you see when you were on Bufo?
For that experience, that's about it. Yeah. Those are the highlights. Yeah. I can go back in my notes and look, but the second experience is more interesting, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So Saturday night, I'm sorry, we're at Saturday night, first day of Bufo. It was a long day.
Yeah.
And then something really cool happened. Jenny decided to do Bufo.
Oh.
And she invited us to watch her experience.
Yeah.
And that was so cool.
Yeah.
And it was literally about 10, 12 minutes.
She was 10 or 12 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it was, she laughed, she cried, she talked about aliens, she, talked to her mom that just died, the whole...
What did she look like? Like her eyes rolling back in her head?
No, she was on her nest, and, it was dark, it was kind of candlelit.
Yeah.
So, she wasn't, like, writhing and, possession.
Frothing at the mouth.
And then she started coming out of it, and it was so beautiful because Danny just kind of went and rubbed her hair, and he laid down by her side, and... we just got to see them really connect in this just totally authentic way. Yeah. And it was really cool. It was really cool to witness that.
Yeah. That is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So, so if she's 35 minutes and Michael was an hour and 5 minutes, does that mean she's like really acceptable of psychedelics?
So I was 36 minutes. She was about 10 to 12.
Oh, she was 10 to 12. Okay. So yeah.
I think you're asking if somebody does it and they're experienced with it, do they do it faster?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because if Michael's a psychonaut, because psychedelics are hard to like penetrate through him, and he took a really long time, then would that mean that because Jenny's was so short?
I don't think so, because his taking a really long time wasn't like the medicine taking effect. It was that he was out for that long. Like, Danny reported that he was breathing twice a minute.
Huh?
Yeah.
So 2 breaths a minute?
2 breaths a minute.
Is that not, like, cause for concern?
I'm sure there's a metric, and they're watching people.
Yeah.
And, I feel safe with them.
Yeah.
And I don't know all the back end part of it. But I know that they're watching us like hawks.
I would love to know the back of house.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We'll get you trained in it.
Okay. So after Jenny went, so she was the last one. Mm-hmm. You wrap up Saturday night.
By then it's, getting close to midnight.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How do you sleep after that?
Well, I didn't sleep very well. But, I don't know if other people slept kind of spotty too.
Yeah. So Sunday morning. Walk me through Sunday.
Sunday morning... She's decided to do 2 people at a time.
For Bufo?
For Bufo.
Okay.
And, of course, Michael is the only person that I would... I don't want him to see me like that.
Yeah.
But he's not seeing anything.
Yeah.
And he was the person that I would, felt the least bad about disturbing if I got crazy.
No, that makes sense. I get it.
Like if I'm rolling around frothing and hanging from the ceiling, I'd rather mess up his journey than Cindy Lou Who's.
Yeah, of course. Like, what's he going to do? Divorce you?
Right.
Yeah.
So again, we wake up and have breakfast. There's a lot of journaling involved.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of free time. So there's just a lot of connection amongst us.
Yeah.
Whereas you remember at our retreats, we have, we do it kind of in sessions.
Yeah.
So Michael and I went first. And I think by this time, Jenny and Danny had really clued in to what we were able to do out in the room.
What do you mean?
As far as helping other people anchor.
Okay. Yeah.
And holding that space.
Yeah.
Because the last thing that they want to be worried about while they're doing medicine with somebody and watching somebody take 2 breaths a minute is what the hell's going on in the other room. So we went first on that one, and that is my favorite journey, and the one that was just absolutely mind-boggling. Like, there's parts of that I still am really affected by. It has changed the way that I operate and show up in the world. It was very dramatic.
Walk me through some of the highlights.
So some of the highlights. First, I'm going to say about Michael. So he changed his intention, and he wanted to go play. So he said he felt himself go back to source.
Cute.
where he had been yesterday, and he said, I don't want to do that today.
Yeah.
I want to go play.
Yeah.
And he became an eagle.
Oh my gosh.
And he flew over mountains and through forests, and
Yeah.
you know, he had a really wonderful time. And I'm going to back my experience up just a little bit because I'd had the trauma intention.
Yeah.
And I really felt like I'd met that.
Yeah.
With the psilocybin and the first Bufo.
Yeah.
And so before the second Bufo, you know, we're getting saged, our energy's being cleared.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what's my intention for this one?
Mm.
And out of the blue, one of my team members says, check on Shannon's work.
Mm.
Go see what he's up to.
Yeah.
Because this whole time since he's passed, I know that he's working.
Yeah.
Very obviously. And I know that part of what he's doing is building a bridge between between other mediums to connect us to the other side.
Yeah.
And help shine the light so other people can find their way.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a great intention. I'm definitely going to do that. So I set that as my intention, and I was kind of afraid to watch Michael do it.
Yeah.
You know,
you'd get the ick.
you get it? You get
Yeah.
that? Yeah. So I kind of like half watched him.
You know when you get the ick? Like something's, keep it a mystery.
The Bufo mystery.
The Bufo ick.
So he goes, you know, out.
Yeah.
And then they prepare mine. And I went out. And it was, I mean, when I tell you, you lay back and your head explodes. And it's so interesting how everything feels outside of you, but it's really in you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a brain twister, I think.
Yeah.
When you think of it really and truly like that. Because my experience was so huge and expansive that I have a hard time believing it happened in my brain.
Yeah.
And so the first part of it was really interesting, and this is very vulnerable. I was with you and Vic and Daddy, and I was making amends, you know, for the divorce, for the trauma that brought, for the disruption, for all of the things.
Yeah.
And I was telling you all how much I loved you. And, you know, that it broke my heart, but that I knew that I had to move on.
Yeah.
And I was making these amends to you now, and that I promised you that my whole life was going to be an amends.
Yeah.
And that I would always live with integrity, and that I would be proud of me, and you all would be proud of me, but I simply couldn't take all that energy along with me to go to this next part.
Yeah.
And I felt those cords dissolve. And it was very liberating.
Yeah.
And it really did. It set me free.
Good.
And so that happened, and then I was with Shannon, but I couldn't see him. But I knew I was with him. And he was showing me the bridge, and he was showing me all the work that he was doing. And I could feel myself making movements, like he was showing me how to build it and what to do with it. And I was taking what he was showing me and embedding it in my body, like embodying it. And I want to tell you something my therapist said about that. So put a little pin in that, me being embodied with the bridge.
Okay.
And I kept saying to Shannon, who I couldn't see, can I go yet? Can I go? And he's like, no, not yet. I'm not done showing you. And I was like, okay. And I'd do more, and I'd be like, can I go yet? and it was funny because part of me wanted to stay, but part of me wanted to go. If that makes any sense.
Like go on to the next part of your journey?
Yeah. Part of me wanted to go on to the next part of my journey, but a part of my soul wanted to stay in it with him and them.
Yeah.
Like stay there.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting feeling, and he kept saying, not yet, not yet. And then I got the final piece, and I like felt it click into place. And I don't know if I said it out loud or said it in my mind, but I went, heard, chef.
Oh my God. Your obsession with the bear needs to be studied.
I know, right?
So you said that to Shannon while you were tripping?
Well, yeah,
Heard, chef.
Heard, chef. Like, we just cooked up a bridge
That is
to
so
serve
fun.
humanity.
Breaks generational trauma. Heard,
chef. And that made me laugh out loud. I think I did laugh out loud.
Yeah.
So then I sat up
Mm-hmm.
and I looked at Jenny and Danny and I said, stand up. And they said, I said it very authoritatively.
Oh my gosh.
Stand up. And they stood up and he put his arm around her waist and they stood together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like my eyes were scanning them.
Yeah.
And what I was looking at was like where I had been in the past. And then I had this bridge embedded and I was looking at them as like a future.
Yeah.
And it was like my brain was just reading it all. I mean, I remember looking at them and it was like going zzz.
Yeah.
And Jenny kind of whispers out the side of her mouth to Danny, she's still in it. And
That would drive me insane.
And I
Did
saw
that make you
her,
mad?
And I heard her and I went, boom, and sat and went back.
Yeah.
And I remember Jenny everything, you know, before the medicine, if you go to the light but you can't get through it, make a door.
Okay.
So I went back and I was in the light. It was just the most beautiful, all-consuming, glittering gold light, but it was all there was.
Yeah.
And I remembered to make a door.
Yeah.
And above the door was the number 444, which is my number stamp. And I walked through the door into a golden hall, and all the retreat guests are there.
Yeah.
And they're smiling at me, and they're waving. And I say to them, I love you forever. I like you for always. As long as I'm living, my sisters you'll be.
Aw.
And I kept walking, and I walked into, I call it the Crystal Palace because I've been there before in meditations.
Yeah.
And in past experiences. And I walk into the Crystal Palace and there's Robin Williams. And I went, can I cuss?
Yeah.
I said, unfucking believable.
Oh my God.
I said, and I pointed at him and he smiled and he laughed. He goes, yes, it's real. It's all been real. And I said, you mean after you died and all those times in the magazine covers, I felt you pulling me to you? He goes, all real. I said, even the dream, because I dreamed about him in the Crystal Palace, but I kept rolling away from him.
Wait, when did you dream about him?
That was, you know, I wouldn't say 2017 if I had to pull a number out of the air.
Yeah.
And he said, and I kept rolling away, and he said, that was real, and you weren't ready. And I just kept going, unbelievable. Robin Williams, I cannot believe this.
Oh my God.
I cannot believe this is happening.
Yeah.
And it's real. And then he took me into a scene of What Dreams May Come.
Yeah.
And that movie got panned, and I was firmly sound asleep when I saw that movie. Like, I didn't know anything.
Is that a movie with Robin Williams? Okay, sorry, I've never heard of it.
And it's a movie all about, you know, the kids die, he dies, his wife commits suicide, he tries to get her into hell, you know, it's the whole thing. And a lot of it's in Technicolor. So he takes me into a scene to the movie, and they're in these Technicolor rocks. And I'm touching his face, and he's just smiling. I'm like, he's like, it's real. He must have said that to me 50,000 times. It's real. Touching him. And he goes, now you're ready for the message. And I've paraphrased it from what I've written.
Yeah.
I like, the paraphrase just resonates. The paraphrase is, and what he said to me is, you've got to give the people what they want. But you must bring forth from a place of joy, not from a tortured soul.
Yeah. Wow.
I was like, Robin, that is deep AF.
Yeah.
And it just touched me so deeply. Mainly to have all of those incidences that I'd had prior, like stone cold, unmedicated, be validated.
Yeah.
So strongly that when I came to, it's really interesting. So that all happened, and then I started coming to, but Michael, of course, was still out, so I'm waiting on him. Imagine that.
Trying to close your eyes.
And I'm looking in the corner of the room, and I can see 4 golden columns. And on the ceiling was purple and white checkered. Shannon usually comes in purple.
Yeah.
And there's a quilt in our room at the retreat that was purple and white, quilted. And that quilt was overlaid on the corner of the room when I was coming out of my experience.
Yeah.
And, you know, and as I came to more, it started to fade.
Yeah.
Out. And then, you know, Michael came out and I, you know, sat up and I was like, this is unbelievable. And Danny was like, here, write it down. I was like, I can't write this down. I'm blah, blah, blah. I was activated. And we walked out with the Bufo glow.
Yeah.
Just times a million.
Yeah.
And, you know, Michael had an amazing experience. And then it was really cool to have him by my side.
Yeah.
For us to be together. It was a really cool thing to share.
Yeah. So you're glad that you ended up doing it together.
Yeah, I was really glad.
What do you think was different about the second Bufo experience and the first?
I think that the first one I really needed to do physical releasing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a physical thing. The psilocybin and the first Bufo were, you know, the brain rewiring and then the throat and then the foot. It was all body stuff.
Yeah. Got it.
The second experience with Bufo, I'd done the physical stuff.
Yeah.
So it got to be more
mental
and metaphysical.
Yeah. So cool.
Because I'd shed the physical.
Yeah. So then everyone else does their sessions. Did anyone else have any like crazy, did you guys debrief it all together or?
No, and I wish we had.
Yeah.
We debriefed individually. And to be honest, I can't remember anybody saying they had. I mean, I just don't think you can top Robin Williams. I'm sorry.
You had the best.
I
Not to be competitive.
I don't mean to brag, but I kind of did.
I mean, you did. And that it's not your fault that you're the most enlightened.
The most open.
So, and then I'm just wondering from, like, did your stomach hurt? Like, what were the physical reactions to
No
Bufo?
physical reactions like that.
Yeah.
It was very cool. They, you know, fed us very lightly.
Yeah.
There was plenty to eat.
Yeah.
But it was very light.
Yeah.
For that reason.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was Sunday. Everyone else did their sessions. Anything else happened Sunday after everyone did Bufo?
Oh yeah, she had a chiropractor come in.
Okay.
And this chiropractor, I can't remember the character in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe that was half man, half...
Fenris Ulf?
Yes. Was the chiropractor.
Really?
Yes.
That is so funny.
I looked at him and I was like, whoa. He was galactic looking at some point. And I've never experienced, I wouldn't even call that chiropractic work based on what I know.
What did he do to you guys?
It was magic, whatever he did. He would put you in a position and he'd used his body with your body to adjust you. And I'm used to kind of heavy-handed, getting cracked.
Yeah, yeah.
And this was not that. It was like a really intricate dance done between the two of us where he was leading and he would do his work and then he would step aside and we did it in tandem. He'd go work on, I think Terry was with me on this one. He'd work on her and then he'd come back and he'd look at me from afar and I swear it was like he was reading me like I'd read Jenny and Danny.
Yeah. Weird.
And I could see him reading me and then he would come do the next adjustment based on what his team said I needed.
Craziness.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
And he was delightful. So he joined us for dinner. And we had a really delicious dinner that night. And we all sat around the table. We laughed and laughed and laughed for a really long time.
Yeah.
And it's just real. The energy, the vibration at that dinner table was just through the roof.
Yeah.
I imagine we must have sent up like a light beam.
Yeah.
Up into the ethers.
Yeah.
With all that was going on.
So you wrapped on Sunday. And then what was Monday?
Wrapped on Sunday, and then Monday was packing up and leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you scanned Jenny and Danny up and down, did you see a future version of yourself leading something like that?
It's interesting that you say that, because yes, I saw a future version of myself, and I saw a collaboration. Now I can see what I saw. Mm-hmm. And we are going to collaborate on a retreat.
Of PMBs?
TBD.
Okay, TBD on the PMBs, but definitely a Jenny and Sarah, Danny Michael collab.
Definitely.
Cool. So I always think that I feel like someone, and maybe I'm wrong, like I am willing to be wrong, but someone that's young, like my age, doing this would be more harmful than good. Like, what do you think would be, who's the right candidate for a retreat like this?
I think the right candidate for something like this is somebody that has done their research around it and they feel called to it, and they decide to do it with intentionality.
Yeah.
And that being said, I did ask Jenny, and it's 21 and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense from a legal perspective. But I just feel like for me, I don't need to know everything. And I like it that way.
Yeah.
I'm just vibing. Like, I have what I need, and then I'm just going to keep vibing. Because right now I'm in the gathering data phase. I'm still gaining experiences.
Exactly.
Learning new things, meeting new people, making mistakes. I'm doing field research, boots on the ground. So if I learn too much, then I'm not going to have any interesting stories.
Well, you can look at it that way, or you can look at it as you are doing all this field research, and that's just another window into the soul.
I think so, too.
If you should choose to open it. And that's why I say I think that if you're interested in it, you should really do your research around it. You know, watch the documentaries, read. I think there's a book, Toad of the Dawn. Dawn of the Toad, Toad of the Dawn. We can put that in a link too. But it's a plethora of information on it now.
Cool. Maybe we'll compile some of your like top 5 recommendations, books, movies, articles.
Perfect.
And then quickly, just before you went on the retreat, what were there any requirements, activities you can and can't engage in?
Yes. So for the Cambo people, I think it was more intense. Like you had to drop all the, I'm using air quotes, you know, bad things, the sugar, the dairy, the alcohol, X, Y, and Z, and really clean out. So we weren't doing Cambo. We didn't have to do all of that, but for psilocybin, you're not supposed to have caffeine in your system. So I did go off caffeine for about 5 days before that.
Okay.
And I try to keep a light diet, and so I just doubled down on that a little bit more. Eat alcohol, you know, I think is a big thing before any retreat, is just to really take a break from that. And we did a lot of, you know, I did a lot of journaling prep work and kind of, you know, made sure I got to swim or do yoga and just really got myself as mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually as balanced as I felt like I could be going out there.
And there was a point that you wanted to come back to about your current therapist.
Yes. So when I told you I'd met with the nutritionist and that started the whole trauma research thing, and I found internal family systems, I realized that with internal family systems I had some parts that I needed help with, that I couldn't do that work on my own. So I found a therapist here in Atlanta, and she's a dream. And actually she is the mom of one of the girls you went to Galloway with. Her name is Kelly Spencer. So if anybody in the ATL needs a therapist, I adore Kelly Spencer. Shout out to her. I was so excited after this experience to have my session with her. Because she totally embraces all of it. I mean, she gets it. She would work with me and my team. She would listen to my visions and ask questions. And she was just in it.
But she's like a psychologist, like a real tried and true academic doctor.
Letters after her name, all
letters,
the
all the
letters,
things, all the diplomas.
And she's at a huge practice called Atlanta Center for Wellness. There's, I don't know how many therapists they have there, but finding her was a real gift. Well, that's so good. I feel like this tied up perfectly. You got everything that you wanted out of the retreat. You found a good therapist out of it, and now you're on the higher timeline, which is what your intention was in the first place. Exactly.
Do you have anything else that you wanted to share with the heinous listeners?
The heinous listeners. Well, there's so many things I want to share, but you know, again, back to the intentionality. And I think really if you can start to live more of your life like that, and it's really pretty simple to do, and it's just being aware and, you know, accepting yourself where you are and moving from that point and asking a lot of questions and building a support team is crucial. And I'm really grateful that, I have gone to this retreat and met 6 other people who I know I could call up if an emergency happened and they would stop, drop, and roll.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mom, for coming back on.
Well, thank you, Lily, for listening to all my shenanigans and being such a good support.
All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Muchas.